It's the Nighttime Show Podcast with special guest Allan Stephan. He's known as one of the outlaws of comedy. He was the writer on Roseanne, and he's done multiple HBO specials, and he picked on me at a few comedy clubs, but it was really funny. And we have Matt Walker, producer of the Nighttime Show Podcast and the Nighttime Show live show. And you have me, Robbie Carlisle, the announcer. But here's the big thing. Here's Stephan from Big Time Rush Storks and the most amazing host. Oh my God, it's Stephan!
Wow! Right? That's his best. Allan, that's his best. That's him at his best.
It reminds me of just before you hit the animal on the road.
That's what it's like. What it's like. Oh, God bless you, Robbie. Good to see you. Good to see you, pal.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Allan mentioned it right when we started here. You have lost some weight.
Yeah. I lost about 40 pounds between the time I got fired as a web designer and now.
Wow.
So.
Now you need a disease to get rid of the rest.
Oh, yeah.
You can find one of those, right, Robbie?
He's working on it.
Well, there's actually this one woman who was like so morbidly obese, right? And she got this flesh-eating disease that normally kills you. Mm-hmm. And they quarantined her, and the flesh-eating disease like literally gave up because it couldn't like
got full.
it couldn't dig through the fat to get to the actual like muscle tissue.
It's really not a plan you should consider. I'm way too excited about this.
Yeah, it's maybe save it for a rainy day. Yeah. It is very exciting for us to have you here, Allan. We are Allan Stephan. Huge deal having you on the show. You did our live show, and
that was fun.
God, you were
great.
so fucking funny on that show. My
Thank
God, yeah. And one of my favorite things you're a writer, a producer, and a stand-up comedian, and I know you've worked in the industry in all sorts of different ways. I mean, you helped. I don't want to say helped form the Comedy Store to what it became, but you literally did. Like, you were part of that whole. Like, when we watched the show I'm Dying Up Here, which I watch every week, like, that's who you were. That's you. That's kind of like, I mean, not that, but basically, like, you were a part of that whole beginning.
I love the attempt, but you must remember we were in our 20s.
Yeah. Right.
So right then and there, it's different.
Yeah. Right. Well, how so? How so?
There's
Please.
a different energy, a different excitement, and a lot of naivete. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't see that.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a caricature of her. I get it.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. She was, before the strike, she was a lovely woman.
Yeah.
Was there a big change in her after the comic strike? Like, was it a huge change?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Like, she never got over it.
No.
Wow.
No.
Really?
No.
How so? Like, how did that go down?
Well, nobody's famous. I mean, when Tom Dreesen did his first Tonight Show, we all went to Beverly Hills to some rib joint, Tony Roma's, and watched the show and celebrated, like 20 of us. Yeah. When there was no fame, it was like high school. There was seniors, there was juniors, you know what I mean? But once the fame started, that started to change things. And then the main room, originally, she thought she was going to get some big shots out of Vegas, the Buddy Hackett's. But they went, it'll kill our Vegas gig.
Right.
Yeah.
So she wound up with Jackie Mason, who wasn't hot at the time, Tiny Tim, who still owes me $10.
Well, he's dead now, so you never get it back.
And then she put in what was considered the headliners of the store at the time, about 17 of them. And they decided, it's doing really well, we should get paid. And that would have been cool, but they used the masses to get what they wanted. At one point, it was settled. She gave in to the 17, but the rest went, well, what do we get? And you used us. So the strike started.
Right.
But, oops.
Wow.
And what year was that?
I want to say 78.
78, yeah.
Do you think that are you, looking back at it, are you happy that they striked and that?
Originally, I was all for it because there was two other powerhouses in town, Bud with the Improv, and Mike Cayley had, I forget what he called his clubs. So it was like, if we get the three of them, as the country goes, it'll set the price.
Sure.
But I remember one meeting, they said, let's just get her. And I went, and I walked right over, and I said, they're coming for you. And what do you want me to do?
Wow.
You know, when they made it personal, I'm that type person. You know, I'm a dragon slayer. If somebody's in trouble, I show up, right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I did agree with her that it was where you learn, because I was developed completely there. So I thought the main room should get paid, but the other rooms, no.
Right.
You know, where's the suffering for your art? And so eventually I had a SAG card. You know, I'm in show business since I'm 8. So when they said they were going to pull cards, I had a meeting with them, and they said, we just wish you people go away. And I said, so no card pulling? He said, no, and that was pretty much the end by then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad blood. Some people still are angry, but for the most part, they all got past it. Should there have been a comedy union? I don't know. I'm not crazy about the unions I'm in.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? They're getting their powers is almost out the door these days.
Yeah.
So, and how are you going to tell club owners? My main thing is who's going to decide I'm funny?
Right.
Not the two that made themselves president and vice president,
Yeah.
because it was never going to happen. They just didn't have that kind of vision outside of what they did.
Of course.
So, who's to say I'm worth $50? I'm worth $200. And then how are you going to get the clubs to honor that?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
But I think they had the right idea. I think there should be something that helps comics, especially now that the business has changed and a lot of them are jumping out windows. You know,
Right.
Because they wake up and they go, well, I'm not prepared for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Who were some of the guys that you started out with in stand-up?
Anybody that's famous now.
Yeah. So we're talking like
Jay Leno.
Jay Leno.
Here's a normal lineup every
yeah. Just
night.
give me a
Elaine
little, give our
Boozler.
audience a little line.
Elaine Boozler.
Okay.
Jay Leno. David Letterman. Gallagher. And then the celebrities would come in, the Rodneys, the Pryor, Billy Crystal sometimes, Steve Martin sometimes. Name any other comic you can think of.
Whoopi and
Whoopi, not really. Whoopi came out of San Francisco.
Sure.
And she really wasn't stand-up in my mind. She was very theatrical and did funny characters, which is what her Broadway show was that made her famous.
Yeah.
And she did work there, but she wasn't from the original days. You know, when I get there in early 75 or in 75.
Pryor, maybe? Was Pryor around?
Pryor is around, but he doesn't become Richard until about 76, 77. And then when he would show up, you couldn't get into the
So
store.
you got to see that sort of evolution in Richard
Well,
Pryor?
here's the interesting part. Everybody has their method. Richard would prepare to do an hour, and he might go on that night and do 3 minutes. And they go, hey, how about this? And he goes, it's all material. I'm not doing it. And eventually, by the end of the month, 15, 20 minutes, and at the end of 3 months, he has his hour. And he was also cool enough to pick the comics that he thought were funny. And sometimes he paid, or sometimes we just sat and were honored to be giving him stuff. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like the Fire concert, I think Mitch Walters is maybe the drunk sticking his head in to light his cigarette and that serve it with coleslaw. And I think we were involved in I know what you're saying about me, and he lights the match. This is Richard Pryor running down the street.
Yeah.
But Mooney and I became very close early on, and I kind of liked that because he had no time for little white guys.
Yeah.
It was just a different clique. No racism involved, just a different clique. And I remember after, I knew him a while. One night he says, hey, I brought somebody here to see you. And we go up the stairs of the belly room, and Richard's sitting there, and he goes, funny. And I sat and talked to him. After that, we were friendly. And then, of course, there was the drugs.
Right, sure.
Friendlier.
Place, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
when Jimmy Walker was in there?
Jimmy Walker, here's why I respect Jimmy, and then I'll tell you a funny story about him. Jimmy, it takes you 10 years to become famous. So there's your album. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now you have a year and a half for the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Jimmy was smart enough to put everybody on his payroll. That was great. Letterman had to buy his way out of that contract. But it was Leno, Boozer, he had them all, and he'd pay them. So the first joke I ever sold was to Jimmy for a Tonight Show, and he got applause. At that point, he hadn't gotten applause during a set. So they send me papers. It's basically Jimmy will not talk about, and it's columns of, what he won't say.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm a little nuts. It doesn't occur to me, money will be paid to me. I just write on there, well, get back to me when Jimmy wants to be funny.
Wow. Amazing.
Never had a discussion with him, and that's like 77. Never had a discussion with him about it. About 3 years ago, his book comes out. Mitchell Walters calls me up and goes, "You're in the book." I go, "Why would I be in Jimmy's book?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Every now and then I like to go after the wild cards, the unpredictable." And he goes, "One time," and he tells the story. And I would never discussed it with him. So I see him at the Laugh Factory about 6 months later in the green room, and I go, "Don't you remember that story?" He goes, "It still sticks out, Allan. I'm offering you money and you're insulting me."
Shit. That's amazing.
Is that kind of a metaphor for your entire career, Allan, in many ways?
Well, somebody said you're a bridge burner, and I said, "You ever think I do it so I don't have to go back across and make the same mistake?"
Do you feel like, have you ever had anybody fired from a job or tried to get someone fired because you were tired of the bullshit?
I was in charge of some stuff, so of course.
Yeah. We've just had we're not going to talk about it in specifics, but me and Matt have been discussing it because I've had a few times recently where I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to deal with this bullshit anymore." With some place or some job or something.
On Roseanne, they called me Luca Brazzi.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they could tell by the way I was walking across the lot. Somebody's head was going to roll.
Oh my God! That's
but
amazing.
there was 26 writers. There's another 80 with the crew.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling what
Stuff
you have to
happens.
do when you run a show. You got to do the editing, the laugh track, every aspect of that show.
Yeah.
You have to oversee. If they build something on the set, they got to show you the plans. Mm-hmm. And I notice a lot of these places don't check homework. So some writers were very good. Some I don't even know how they got as far as they were. And, I like people to get me. And unfortunately, I come from stand-up, not college.
Right.
So the college writers and the execs go, "What's wrong with him?"
Yeah.
Because I go in and make jokes because that's who I am. And they go, "Yeah, what's wrong with him?" Because the comedy writers are not funny.
Yeah.
Some are really great comedy writers, but they're not funny. So I ran up against that a lot, and I would just let them think what they want. And then, of course, I had a temper. My thyroid was bad for years, and I didn't know it. And it's not an excuse. I would have done the exact same thing. But I remember I once threatened one of the presidents of William Morris.
Oh, so great. Oh, my God.
I think Warren Littlefield one time upset me. So when Leno needed Roseanne, I did a little sketch about him.
Holy shit.
But this is how big shots are. They don't have time to remember you.
Yeah.
There's a famous manager named David Steinberg who's going to throw me out of the business. I'm running you out of the business. Every year for 4 years I was here. 2 years goes by and he calls, "Is this Allan Stephan?" And I'm with Robert Wall, and Robert knows I could go off. He goes, "Just hear him out." So it's on speakerphone. He goes, "It was during the earthquake. Billy Crystal has to get an award at the Comedy Store tonight. We know you're a big deal there. Would you accept it?" And I'm about to tell him who he's talking to, and Robert goes, "Just let it go. He doesn't know. He could care less."
Yes.
So 6 months later, he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Allan, where's the award?" I go, "Right here on my mantle. You said accept it." He goes, "Well, how do I get that?" I go, "You're a manager. You got a service. Either you get in your own car and come get it, or you send a runner.
Yeah.
You said accept it." And by the way, do you know who he is talking to? Let me refresh your mind. And I told him every time he told me he's going to run out of show business.
Why did he want to run you out of show business?
The first time, oh God,
This is so good.
I'll name names. The first time, there was a club in Arizona called Chuckles, and they didn't know me, so I was going in as a middle. Well, it turns out Jimmy Brogan is the headliner, and in his contract, he can say who goes before him.
Yeah.
And he decides the night before. Well, I need rent back then.
Yeah.
Jimmy had a little game show on something, and they said, "Well, if you can work it out with Jimmy." So I called Jimmy at showtime. I said, "How long are you going to be there?" He said, "A while." I said, "Good, I'm coming to kill you." And then David Steinberg, the manager, calls. "You can't threaten my." I said, No, I'm threatening you now. Anyway, long story short, I middled. He left after 2 nights or something, and I became their headliner. But the second time, I'm a big deal in La Jolla in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Huge. They wait in line. They bring me gifts. And I'm not on 2 seconds, and I get a note. Get off. Robin's here. And I throw it away.
Yeah.
About the third one, I'm playing basketball with it into glasses in the front row. And it's nasty, the third one. And I know Robin. He can't help himself. Eventually, he's going to join me on stage.
Yeah.
And he does. We do 20 minutes together, and I give him the stage. I get off, and this guy gives me a little shove. When I tell you to get off, you get off. I'm Robin's manager. And I go, I'll keep that in mind. I'm going to run you out of show business. Okay. Give me a head start.
Give me a head start. Oh, my God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, some people abuse their power, and I find that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like Warren, it's a long story, but I had to take a meeting with him. And it wasn't our network, and he wanted Roseanne to host something. Well, he kept me waiting over an hour, and there was a bowl of M&Ms, and I ate them. So he comes in, ignores me, sits at his desk, doesn't even look in my direction, and he yells to his secretary, "How do you spell apologize?" And I go, S-O-R-R-Y. Doesn't even turn his head.
Yeah.
5 minutes goes by, he sits down, looks at the bowl, looks at me, and I go, should have been on time.
Right.
And I think I'm funny. They just stare at me like, he's just crazy. So somewhere along the line, he says, and if you go a minute long, you'll cost me millions because it'll go into the news. And I go, well, then I'd get more M&Ms. And he finally loses it. And he goes, let me tell you something. If the other movie does better than ours, I'll eat crow. So Jay, because of the strike, I love him. I'm sure he could care less about me. He's nice to me. When my antique used to break down, he'd stop and fix it. And
is that your car that's outside? Which car?
I used to drive a 61 MGA Roadster.
Okay,
nice.
okay, cool.
And before I restored it, he had a Ferrari. We lived in the same neighborhood. He'd rub me off the road, just fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember 5 years after the strike, I come off stage. He goes, I never thought I'd say this. You're very funny. I went, thank you. He goes, scab. So
Hilarious.
I never know where they're floating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's 5 years
Jay
later.
calls up, and I'm in the trailer, and I answer. And he goes, yeah, I just want, why does this voice sound familiar? Is this Allan? I go, yeah. He goes, well, never mind. I go, give it a shot, Jay. Well, I need some celebrities. I just got the Tonight Show, and I was wondering if I can get Roseanne. Sure. Then I call him back. But we have to do a sketch. Don't get me fired. I just got here. So at some point, I forgot how we set it up, but the curtain opens, and it's the little kid that played her son in a bozo red wig and a suit. The guy comes out with a silver tray, lifts the lid. There's the crow. He cuts into it, takes a little bite, and the curtain closes, and underneath it's flashing, President of NBC. And Jay goes, I don't even know what happened. But, apparently you guys do.
Yeah.
And a few weeks later, I did it a couple times, and then he goes at a party, Martin Littlefield said, you have any idea who'd be behind that?
Amazing.
The big shots are in their own world.
Yeah, they don't know.
Like many years ago, I think there was some disagreement on the Roseanne show, and eventually he calls her up and says, the leak to the trade is your friend Allan. So she calls me up, and it wasn't a good day for me, and I'm standing with Carl LeBeau,
Yeah, of course.
pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
And she goes, so what are you going to do about it? I go, I'll take care of it. Well, it's a writer that I had gotten rid of. He kept an extra year because he had 9 kids or some crap. He's an idiot. And he was working on Cosby. So I go, Carl, keep all the writers in one room. And as luck would have it, they're watching TV. So Carl goes, hey, fellas, nobody moves. And the other guy runs down the hallway. So I kick open his door, flip open his desk. Long story short, his agent thought it'd be funny because from what he tells her, I'm nothing but a troublemaker that does nothing. So she thought it'd be a good way to get even. And I said, who's she with? He goes, William Morris in New York. So I could get her on the phone. And I listened to her, and I go, you don't even know me. I mean, I don't even understand how you would even think to do this. It's just, is there a box or a bag near your desk? because I want you to start putting your stuff in it. You're going to be fired in 15 minutes. And I called him up, and I go, you got 15 minutes to get rid of that girl, or she goes to ICM.
Holy shit.
So he called up Roseanne and said, your friend just threatened me. And she goes, Allan doesn't make threats.
Wow.
Because, those guys come and go like the wind.
Yeah.
Wow.
But everybody in that position, they know best. They're powerful people. They don't know any more than you and I.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we continue, I am currently sitting here with a bottle of my favorite stuff, Fireball whiskey.
Love the Fireball.
God, it is so good. Real quick before we continue, I just want to pop this bottle open. Hey, Matt, if you listen real carefully, you can hear the Fireball talking to you from inside the bottle.
Sure.
It's a little muffled, though. Hang on, I'll put it up the microphone.
Oh, my God. I'm sweating so much. The bottle has been out of the ice for too long.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's the bottle of Fireball. I'm going to pop it open. Hang
Fireball.
on. I'm going to take it off.
Ow, 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 ow.
Oh, I popped the lid off there. Hey, how's it going in there, Fireball whiskey?
Oh, it'd be better if I was in your belly.
Oh, yeah. You want to get in my belly? Get inside this beautiful stomach, this hairy ball of man meat. Get on in there.
No, wait, that sounds...
Whoa, you down inside my stomach now, Fireball whiskey? What do you feel down? What's it like down there?
Well, why are there all these half-eaten donuts? Don't you chew when you swallow?
No, I've been, just kind of swallowing them whole. But that's the way that I like it, which is why I like Fireball whiskey. Hey, just make yourself comfortable in there. Sit on the couch, watch a little Grey's Anatomy.
Will do. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I do love Grey's Anatomy and Fireball whiskey. All right, let's get back to the show.
So you're doing stand-up at the store, early 80s. Sam Kinison comes to town.
Well, he came to town first with a wife, a stepchild, his brother, a little clique.
Yeah.
For about a year or two. Then he disappears for about a year or two. And then he comes back.
Then he comes back. And
Without
that was
the
alone.
wife.
Without the wife, without the kid, without the
But
brother.
with the entourage.
Okay. What was that like at the store when he came in? Like, did you know there was something special at the beginning, or was it he was just another guy? And
Well,
then
here's
he
what I
became
said to him the first time he went on. And believe me, nobody laughed. I grabbed his arm and I said, you have no fear. He said, well, I used to have to heal them. I said, good point. Making laughs is much easier than going, about that eyesight. Try it now.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he had no fear. And that, to me, that set you free right then and there.
Yeah.
And then eventually, she put him on at midnight every night and he caught on. But that took years.
Yeah.
Years of walking people.
Yeah.
We just had Maurice LaMarche on our show. Do you know Maurice?
I once did a gig with him, and I said, if you do Leno one more time, I'm going to have to stab you with a knife.
No way. What? Why?
All day long. No offense, he's a lovely guy, great career, but the impressionists don't know who they are. So all day long, you're talking to 28 people.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's hysterical.
Just it's like being with somebody who's schizophrenic with a different personality, different voice.
Well,
all
he
the
was
time,
on Leno, a Leno kick.
Yeah.
But
so he was doing Leno.
Non-stop in the condo. Not
Jesus.
for me. Hey, you want to go for coffee? No, I don't. Why would you go for coffee?
Yeah, he told us about that because he was friends with Sam and did Sam's voice a lot for things.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I love when they say they were friends with Sam. Sam was a predator and an ex-preacher. So I meet people all the time. Like I was on this radio show, and the DJ goes, yeah, one time, he was great. He let me do as long as I wanted. I go, how long were you there? He goes, 4 hours. What a great guy. I go, yeah, for 4 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know him like a book for 4 hours. But I don't even correct anybody anymore. But you never know who he actually liked and who he wanted something from. Like a lot of guys will claim they're outlaws. No, you were there because Sam wanted to try to fuck your wife.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Because I've heard Sam.
Who was outlaws though? Who were the actual outlaws? It's you.
Well, they had their little thing, of when we get famous in Texas, that called themselves the Outlaws. But once he got hot, it was him and Carl, and he said to me, hey, want to go out? And it was just me and Carl, and we'd take Paulie to please his mother when we were doing the Dunes. Lenny Clark spent a lot of time with us. Belzer did a weekend and didn't hang out, so he was gone. Sam's crazy. And Steve Kravitz did 1 or 2 gigs.
Yeah, Kravitz.
Jimmy Schubert did a few.
What? Really?
Oh, I'll tell you, he's an outlaw. But the true facts are, we got tired. You can't stay up every night. So the last tour, we went out with 3 young comics. Sparky, remember Sparky?
Yeah.
Sparky, Schubert, and a guy named Hiselka. And each night, one of them could do 5 minutes, and they were our roadies. And then when I finally left, Jimmy took over until they beat it into the ground, because by then Sam was screwing off shows.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I've heard Sam described as both the best friend and worst friend you could ever have at the same time. Like he was like just
all I could say is like a
that.
true predator. You may think one thing's going on for several years, and it's not what you think.
Yeah.
That's a true predator. They can wait years to. And always playing people against each other.
Wow. Is that story? I don't mean to be, touching on uncomfortable stuff, but is that story true that we've heard about him and Carl and
Which story?
The wife and the kid and the whole thing?
Tell the story.
Is that story true? Do
Tell
you know
the story.
what story I'm talking about?
The listeners don't know, so tell
I
the
know
story.
everything. Of course
Stephen,
I know
tell the
what
story.
you're
All
talking
right, so the
about.
story that I had heard.
Well, it's out now because Carl discusses it. Yes, the
okay,
baby
right.
Carl had with Christy is Sam's.
right.
Wow. So there is a Kinnison in the world kid.
The family pretends she doesn't exist, but yes.
Is she out there doing stand-up? Is she in the mix? No?
Hopefully she's not a troubled little girl because,
Right.
confusing background. Mom was a little wacky dookie. So
Do you see that, though? Do you run into people whose families were, like Carlin, his daughter does stand-up, right?
Carl who?
Carlin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Richard Pryor's daughter does stand up.
Well, she does a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Rain's a talented lady. She does a show where she sings and discusses, and that's amusing. And I believe Lenny's daughter is now out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think they all travel together. and
Yeah,
discuss
I
it.
remember there was a tour of like the famous kids of them. And,
Yeah, Kitty Bruce, Carlin, Rain, and I'm missing one, I think.
it's not Camilla Cleese, is it? Because
No.
John Cleese's daughter
No,
does.
but she does stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the deal with
What's the deal?
what's the deal about that?
What's the deal?
What's the deal with babies? When I had heard, there's like rumors that I've heard, so I'm just trying to I'm not trying to.
You can't believe
trying to
the
figure it out.
rumors I've heard.
You can. I'm sure you've
I was at
heard
the
something.
store one night, and I guess the fellow that manages Eric.
Yeah.
I thought they were actually paying somebody to give a tour because he's really digging in.
Right. Yeah.
And he goes, and right here is where they had Uzis. And when they all left, I think he got offended when I went, you know who I am? Well, yeah. And I go, call me up and I'll give you real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, you're handing down rumors upon rumors. Uzis?
Yeah.
If we had Uzis, there'd be a story that went, and then they went to jail.
What are you talking about? I had heard that you had broke down the wall between the original room and the main room. That you helped knock the wall down during the construction.
Well,
of
first
the
off,
main
that
room.
original room was half the size. The main room was Art LeBeau's Mexican Disco.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And upstairs hadn't been used since the 60s. So I did a lot of the upstairs walls. And yeah.
Yeah.
I was very close with Mitzi Shore and the family.
I love that. I think that's.
Well, everybody used to think I slept with her. And they go, I go, she listens to me because I didn't sleep with her. That's how Schubert has his leg.
Yeah.
What? What does that mean?
He limps. You never noticed?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh, he was in a motorcycle accident, and he was with Mitzi at the time. And I guess they were having a fight. And this is how I met him. He sat down next to me and goes, Biff and Tim Thomerson said you slept with her and she listens to you. And I go, well, they slept with her and you're sadly misinformed.
Wow.
Well, can I talk to you? And if I don't know you, I'm pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I usually only like comics. So
Yeah.
he takes me out back and he goes, yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident in the county on Friday. He's going to take my leg. And she won't give me the money. And I go, are you the guy sleeping with her currently? Well, yeah. And I go, well, you must suck. He doesn't want to hear my shit humor. So I went upstairs and she's ignoring me. And finally I went, how angry can you be? mind your own business. Seriously, leg angry? I want you to think this out.
Yeah.
So I got him his check, and I went downstairs, and I go upstairs and thank her.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Short memory, Schubert.
Holy shit. All right, so that's a terrific one.
So how did you transition from being known
wait a
as a great
second, I got one more.
All right.
How we doing? I'm not done yet
Well,
with
hurry it
this.
up.
All right.
You know, Argus Hamilton will tell you, I
Yeah.
know where everybody's buried.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm really sure about that too. I had heard that Gallagher did the watermelon on New Year's Eve as a closer, and then Mitzi was like, "No, that's what you do from now on. That's what you do. That's your new
Well,
thing."
Gallagher
Is that-
doesn't strike me as a person that took advice.
Really. I don't know him at all. I've never met
Gallagher,
him.
I believe, first off, is more a philosopher than a comic. Forget the watermelon. Listen to what he says.
Yeah.
And I think at the time it was a great hook. They'd come and cover themselves, the
Yeah.
audience. And,
Yeah.
but
I remember
when he
them
did
doing
that, you know,
Like I remember
by
there was
then
a,
everybody knew it should stay.
yeah, like I remember a Facts
you
of
know.
Life episode where Gallagher guest starred, and they all went. All the girls went to go see Gallagher, and they like covered up with
Yeah.
plastic and stuff.
Well,
there.
yeah. You know, listen, one time after a Vegas show, I'm in the green room and see, I know her. And I did this in front of comics, and I shouldn't have. And she came in and said, I want you to wear a white suit, do jokes about grape nuts. I mean, this is the note you'd get. And something else. And I went, honey, why don't you hire the guy you're talking about?
Yeah.
And she goes, that's a great idea. And she walked out, and the cameras go, we never saw anybody talk to her like that. A month later, I'm sitting next to her in the main room in the booth, and she elbows me and goes, they have to be afraid of me. Don't ever do that again.
Wow.
And it took me a year to get back into Vegas.
Oh my God! What was Dice like during that time? Did you know him when he transferred from being Silverstein to being Silverstein?
There was a few characters before Dice, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before Andrew went to before he
he
became.
was a fine
Dice.
impressionist.
Yeah.
He would do Jerry Lewis, Al Pacino, and when he did Travolta, the house would come down.
Wow.
He sang Grease Lightning and did the exact dance and sounds just like him. And then he started to experiment, because I remember one time he came in with some belt, and I go, would you rob your mother's closet? And there was different names, and then eventually he landed on Dice. And I don't know if you've seen him perform today, but it's unbelievably good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He's got it down, and you know, you reach a certain point where you don't have to try material. You
Yeah.
just go out there,
Yeah.
and that's where he's at. So it's fun. You know, we hang together a lot. And sometimes he'll say something. I go, is that in the act? It is now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite is Mike Black, who is. Do you know Mike Black?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's our announcer sometimes, and he very very funny guy, and he was hanging out with Dice at the store, and Dice was like, "You're very funny. You're coming with me on tour, right? I like you. You're very funny. You're coming with me, right?" So they go out on the road, and they're in Vegas, and he turns to Mike and he goes, "Hey, do me a favor, fall down that flight of stairs over there," and Mike is like. That's a funny thing to say. And he goes, "No, come on, do it. Hey, fall down that flight of stairs. Let everybody see what you do." And he's like, I don't want to do that right now. And he goes, you fucking guys, right? A couple days later, they're at some other place. They're walking down a flight of stairs. He goes, "Hey, do the thing. Fall down this flight of stairs right here that we're walking down." And Mike's like, "Why do you keep asking me to do this?" And he's like, "Come on, just do what you do. Fucking fall down the stairs like you do." And he's like, I don't know what you mean. And he goes, "Well, you're a stunt guy. Do the thing where you fall down the stairs." And Mike goes, "I'm not a stunt guy." And he goes, "You're not?" And he goes, "No." And Dice goes, "Well, then who the fuck are you?" He was like, "I'm a comic at the store." And he's like, "I thought you were that comic that falls down the stairs. That's why I thought I would take you on tour with me." Whatever. That's fine. You're funny.
He likes
it's okay.
to play act during the
it's
day.
Just
you know?
ridiculous. Yeah, he's very man. We had an awkward conversation one time where we were at the store and I never met him, and I was very, very nervous. And
He's
it was
a really
him,
nice guy.
It was him and Eleanor Kerrigan. We were sitting in the kitchen at the Comedy Store, and Eleanor, which is gone now, but we were sitting there, and Eleanor was talking with us, and then she got up and walked away, and it was just him and me left at the table. and he turns and he goes, his phone buzzes, and he goes, "This fucking bitch. She's texting me here. She's texting me there. It's like, fucking come in the room already." And I go, "Yeah, women." And he goes, "You don't know shit." And I go, "You're right. I don't. It's nice to meet you." And I just got up and walked away. And that was the last time we've ever spoken.
Well, the original group of comics are a little abrasive, but they're really good guys.
Right, of course.
But, if they don't need to know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, because you have so many people coming
like
in.
Carl, I didn't know Carl LeBeau when they came out here, did comedy. 7 months. And then one night he did it, and I said, "Why don't you tell me you do comedy?" He goes, "What's the difference?" I go, "Maybe I would have been nice."
Yeah.
Because he couldn't stand me. He'd show up with Sam. I go, "What's the hanger-oner here for?"
Yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah. No, I get that. Like, I've friends that I've been friends with for 10 years, but then I finally saw them do stand-up.
Well, I'm not good with daywalkers, regular people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my friends are either musicians, writers, it's like, I collect artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I get that.
It's just, I don't relate to anything else, unfortunately.
Yeah. Nor regular people it can be tricky to have conversations about stuff because, and this kind of goes back to that Chris Rock. Chris Rock talked about it, but you gotta be careful when you're talking to people that have jobs and are not doing their careers, like are not going after a career. Like if you're
some
talking
people flat out just don't have dreams. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like I have a good friend I grew up with. He's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
I have no problems with him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there's, sometimes there's people you have to hang through other people when you're doing shows, and it's like, I can't explain it. Plus, you don't want them to know what you're about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It kind of ruins it.
Like I put the Outlaws together after 27 years, and we just did Vegas very successfully. And I think the second or third night, Carl goes, all right, let's stop pretending. Let's do whatever we need to do to get through these shows. Allan, you smoke your pot. Mitchell, you do your pills. I think I'm going to go to hard liquor, and we were just on the floor.
Oh, that's so great.
Just on the floor.
Great. I love it. All right.
So now, okay. So you're there at the store throughout the 70s, the 80s hits, and you start to get some work in TV. Like, how did that transition happen?
I didn't get work in TV. I did exactly what I do now, and everybody go, "You have no act. How do we know when it's over?" God bless John Biner. He had a show. He let me do a lot. And then everybody said I was dirty, and I only say 2 words because I only say them in real life. But then I was banned from the Comedy Store for saying fuck. And finally I get a Rick D show. And it's everything it should be. It's like every 5 seconds, applause and laughter.
Yeah.
When I was done, he asked me to be the head writer of the show. And I went, all right, there. I did it. Now
and
everybody shut up, because my dream was not to do Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
My dream was to sit in a lounge in Vegas forever, like Rickles did and these guys.
Yeah.
But they eventually went away.
Yeah.
So I was just hanging in the wind because I didn't do the road 52 weeks a year like people did. I played a handful of clubs. Whenever it was a new one, I'd wind up fighting with the owner.
Yeah.
Because, most people would kiss ass to come back.
Yeah. You're not that guy.
Like one guy is at least 500 pounds. And I'm standing behind him. He goes, the headliner better introduce himself to me if he thinks he's going to get paid.
Who was this?
This is the owner. I haven't even met him yet. But I'm behind him. So he turns, I turn. And he clearly knows something's going on behind him, but he's too fat. So he finally turns around and I go, "Hi, I'm Allan, the headliner. Give me my check." So a couple nights later, I'm sitting at the bar, and he goes, "Listen, there's a special party here tonight." And I go, "Well, who's going on?" He goes, "You are." And I go, "What you're paying me for the week is what I get for a special party. You should have checked with me."
What? Oh, amazing.
And I go, "So you're going to have to throw in another 500. He goes, "Well, I don't know if I'm going to do that. You're going to do that heckling shit you do?" So I call over his bartender, and I go, "Stop serving Budweiser." And he looks at the guy, and he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "We're partners now, right? I won't heckle. You won't serve beer." Sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, you'll never work for me again." And I go, "Please, I'm crushed. How am I going to live?"
God.
Now, 7 months later, the Laugh Factory goes into the same town. Might have been Memphis. And he calls me up and he goes, I give you $7,500 to come work. I go, it's not enough money. He goes, well, what would it take? I go, a different owner. And I go, and you're sitting down? He goes, yeah. I go, I'm opening the Laugh Factory. I intend to put you out of business in the next 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Wow.
And did.
Nice.
Wow.
But, another time I'm with Ron Schock, and I forget the other guy, in Amarillo. I didn't even know it snowed there. But it's freezing, and there's no heat in the condo, no phone, no cable. So I get the cable put in, I do this to all clubs. I cause the club, and then I'm gone. I get the phone in. So I say to him 3 nights in a row, there's no heat. I'll be over there. So the first night I go on, I get off, I guess about 11:45. He goes, listen, we close at 11. I go, did anyone leave? He goes, no. And I go, so let me get this straight. You don't want to make any money after 11. Just want to, that's right. Okay. So Friday comes, and I have my girlfriend there. And this girlfriend at the time is very protective of me. And I go into his office, and it's wall-to-wall VHS machines. Must be 40 of them. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I tape everybody's act. I go, for what? He goes, I make tapes, give them to my friends. I go, that's against the law. I don't care. I go, well, I don't go on until they're off. And with that, I'm introduced.
Yeah.
And I go up, and I just sit on the stool and stare at them. Well, they don't know my act, so they're laughing. And after about 5 minutes, I hear my girlfriend go, they're off, honey. And I go, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa.
So now, second show Saturday night, he comes up to me. You're not going to do that heckling shit you do. I go, what's the problem? The mayor's here. And my dad's a big deal in this town. His dad owns all the clubs that aren't comedy. This is something he threw the kid to shut him up. And the kid's a moron.
Yeah.
Right.
So I go, all right. So I take the stage, and I just... Somebody stepping mayor?
Shit.
And I'm looking at the bottom of my shoes, and I mayor for a half hour.
Oh, God. It's
I
so
come off
great.
stage. He's screaming at me in the office. There's a knock at the door. The mayor goes, I'm having a barbecue at the house tomorrow, and I'd really like you to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
He leaves, and he goes, hey, you're taking me with you, right? I go, no.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't think I'll ever have you here again. I go, who's here next? He said, Sam Kennis. And I go, who's after him? He said, Paul Mooney. I said, please treat them the way you treated me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he eventually went out of business, too. Yeah. But here's the heat story. One day we're just sitting on the couch, and I just go up in the air and come down on his rented coffee table and throw it in the fireplace.
What?
That's what Ron Schock said. I go, you want to keep freezing? Not me.
Yeah.
I said, from now on, whatever wood here is going to get burnt until there's no furniture.
Holy shit.
And as luck would have it, he decides that's the day he's going to show up. And I got a roaring fire going. And he goes, it's warm in here now. I go up. He goes, I started a fire. And he's looking around, and he knows something's not right. And he goes, well, I have the guy coming to fix the heater who'll be here in an hour. And I go, it's cool because this isn't a prison gig.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to treat people. He goes, where's my coffee table? I go, making a fire. When I tell you I'm cold, I'm cold.
So fucking great.
You'll never have me. I'll never have you back. And I go, let me get this straight. I remember one time a guy calls me up, Visalia, California, $400 for 2 nights. Well, on Thursday night, I call up the bar, and I go, I'm not coming. And he goes, well, I advertised you. I go, I don't have one relative in Visalia. What a waste of money.
Yeah.
He goes, what's the matter? $2,000 isn't good enough? I went, what? I go, I'm getting $400. He goes, I'll call you right back. Next call I get is from the guy who booked it. I'll never book you again. He was giving this guy $2,500 or $2,800, $3,000 to book the show. The guy was giving booking it for $600 and pocketing $2,400.
Yeah.
You know who?
So he goes, you'll never work for me again. I go, let me get this straight. You can't rip me off again, and I'm supposed to be upset by that?
Yeah.
And it's like John Fox, the guy who was king of San Francisco, had the contest.
Yeah.
Never liked me. But through a friend of his, I get booked. And the Hilton in Reno loves me, so they want me there all the time, so he has to pretend I'm his client. So one day he calls me up. I guess we're friendly now. And he goes, Allan, I want you in the competition. I go, I'm sorry, I don't believe any kind of art form should compete. I don't think, Renoir went, yeah, hey, Van Gogh, get your best blue on me.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I guarantee you'll be in the top 5. And I go, well, John, call me back when I win.
Hilarious.
Went ape shit crazy.
Yeah.
But, listen, I've paid for what I've done, and I'll still do it. But
We had
I'm not-
a thing with I think you remember this. Were you
Yeah.
around for that gig, or who was?
Just
with
tell the
Dante?
story.
Dante,
People don't know what you're talking about.
Dante,
Yeah.
the comic.
Yeah.
Dante was a doorman in La Jolla.
I
I was a
remember.
kid when I worked there.
He got me a gig. It was him. It was me. I think Nodder and Muratori, maybe, or
Could be.
Or, by the way,
Something
that
like that.
guy just makes me laugh.
who, Muratori.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
funny,
Very
he's a funny
unpredictable.
funny
Yeah.
motherfucker. So we got this gig, and it was out in like Palmdale or Ridgecrest or something like this.
Just those
And,
words is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the job was I was headlining, so I was getting 300. Muratori was getting 200, and I think Nodder was getting $100 to open.
Mhm.
And we get up there, and the guy, we do our gig, and it's rowdy, but it's fun. We finish the gig. I go over to go get paid, and the guy pulls out $2,000 in cash, and he starts counting it out to put in the envelope. And I go, $2,000? I was like, we're getting a total of like $500. No, it was like
600.
$600 bucks. Yeah, we're like, sorry, my math.
Canadian elementary school.
Yeah, Canadian elementary school. So we're like, we're getting $600. Where's the rest of the money going? And he's like, I don't know. Usually Dante takes the money and then he divides it up. And I was like, wait a second. He's walking away with
$1,400.
with $1,400, and we drove out here and he's not doing anything. Like,
He's not even there.
Even taking half maybe is one thing, but like that much. So we called him. The three of us called him from a fucking gas
Did
station.
you get a raise?
We were like, we're never working for you again. We're never doing this, and we're going to tell everybody what
Yeah.
a fucking shit show this is. And he was so fucking pissed. But he was like, just give me my fucking money, And that was the end of it. That was like the end of us ever working with him again, because it was like, and the thing is like I ended up going on and booking the MCRD, the Military Recruitment Depot, for the military in San Diego, and the budgets on those shows were $2,000, and I would take about 500. And then I would spread the rest of it out through the rest of the comics that were performing. Give like the opener like 500, and give someone else some money, and then give the headliner $1,000. And everybody was.
Well, you did the right thing.
That's how you're supposed to do it. Like
Yeah.
you don't take everything; you take a percentage of it.
Yeah.
That was the fun of having shows.
Yeah.
Did you know Stevie Moore?
Of course.
He calls me up and he goes, Allan, I need a gig. I'm going to lose my insurance. I go, I'll see you in an hour. What? It just so happens I have an opening for you.
Shit.
He comes into my office, green face with a turtle shell on his back, and he goes, thank you.
Hilarious.
I go, I told you I could use you today.
Wow. Really? That's amazing.
Some kind of dream sequence about the Grateful Dead, and I needed a turtle.
Yeah. And that was on Roseanne or
great.
Arliss?
That was Roseanne.
Roseanne, yeah. So you did a lot of stand-up, and then you became friendly with Roseanne, like at the store? Or?
Actually, no. I was in Denver, and in those days, I go in a few days earlier and party with everybody.
Okay.
That's one of the clubs I worked a lot, and I was a big deal.
Comedy Works?
In
or?
fact, it's the first club I ever headlined outside of the Comedy Store. And no lie, it was in a jazz club called Basins Up across the street and upstairs from where they are. And I get done, and I'm in the dressing room, and to make them laugh, they had some powder there, so I threw it in my face. They open the door, and they go, hey, I'm busy. And they go, boy, they're going to love you next show. I go, how many have we sold? 2? I go, 2. He goes, yeah, we don't flip the room, so it's going to be really full. I went, what? I go, I have 1 joke left.
Yeah.
Well, now you know why I do what I do. I
Yeah.
did another hour and 10 minutes with that 1 joke, and they said to me when I'm done, another joke. And I go, swear to God, guys, I just had lived the whole show.
Yeah.
And that's my first headlining gig, and I never looked back after that. I went right to headliner from the store.
Amazing.
And so I go in early, and on one amateur night, I'm there, and this woman in a moo-moo goes up, and her last joke was, a lot of people say I'm not feminine. Well, they can suck my dick. And I went over the guy, and I go, I want her on the show with me.
Yeah.
We don't find her funny, and she's a pain in the ass. I go, listen, if we're going to discuss who does shit right, I could be here all night with you and how you run this club.
Yeah.
That's how it's going down. And Louis Anderson and I were their biggest acts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took her on the road with me, and then Louis did. And eventually we talked her into coming here. Took her to the Comedy Store, and that was pretty much it.
Wow.
So then
you were like a part of her life. So then when it came time for her to do the show,
She's family to me.
Yeah.
Whether we're angry at each other, it's like family.
yeah, makes sense.
So I've known her since, 83 or 4.
Yeah.
At what point in the run of Roseanne did you join into the?
Well, Tom Arnold didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 5 years there where I didn't speak to her.
Yeah.
And then of all people, he called me.
Wow.
He figured if I came back, she'd come back.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me.
Huh.
And he made me a guest star in his show. He wanted 14 Roseanne ideas. And I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Either way, I thank him for the break. And they didn't get back together. He said, I told Roseanne. And she called me about a month later. I had done a talk show. That's what made Tom Arnold call me, where I defended them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she goes, you're on TV talking about me, blah, 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 blah. You should watch the episode. I defended you and that idiot.
Yeah.
I miss you. Would you write my act? Well, I'm a little broke. Next day, check arrived at my door. Wow. And then she said, why don't you come over to the lot and secretly punch up my scripts? So to do it, she made me her assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was really writing everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when Roseanne started, like she was in town.
So
for,
I think I did the last 4 years to answer your question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so to go back to the beginning of Roseanne, like that became a monster hit right out of the gate, and you were there from the very beginning of the show. Is that right?
No.
No.
I was there when it was called Life and Stuff, and I remember sitting in her house, and they had just fired Valerie Harper from the show, but it wasn't called Valerie Harper. And I said, get it in your name. They can't get rid of you. And
so they put together this
sitcom. Then she gets
sitcom.
with Tom Arnold, and
so they put together a sitcom.
well,
that
it was based on something she did on an HBO special, where I was supposed to play her husband, but I had to do a gig.
That was the stuff she did with Rodney on the Young Comedian
it's her
special.
own H-
Okay, her own.
Her own
HBO
special, yeah.
And she'd been opening for celebrities, and the Tonight shows were big hits for her. And she had a very funny pizza commercial running. And so Carsey Warner was looking to, get things with comedians. So right time, right place.
Amazing.
And the guy who created the show didn't get along with her and would
Yeah.
say things like, Roseanne wouldn't say that.
Right.
And you're talking to Roseanne.
Yeah.
Some of these showrunners I don't get. So she replaced him as soon as it was a hit, which was the 13th show.
Yeah.
Wow. What was Carsey Warner like? What were they? Interesting? Weird?
I met him once or twice.
Yeah.
Mostly I dealt with the guy who was in charge of all their shows, Courtney Conte, lovely man. The other two, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
no, I get that.
That show goes along.
Not going to dinner with
No. I
So-
get you. I get you.
So that show's going along. You're there for a couple years near the beginning, and then Tom Arnold comes in. You're out. You come back at the end. Now, there were some changes that happened to that show, especially in casting. Like there was a second actress who played Becky, the daughter.
Right.
What was that? Like when you
Sarah
came back,
Chalk.
was it with Sarah Chalk?
There was
or
a small problem, and she, let's just say, left to go to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why they had to replace
Yeah.
her.
So now you are currently, there is a Roseanne show that's coming back.
Reboot, they call
Reboot. Will you be involved with that? Do you know at this point, or likely? Don't know.
We'll see what direction it
We'll see what
takes.
happens.
I'm usually the guy, I'm like the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm usually the guy that comes in and makes it happen.
Yeah.
I get everybody on the same page, one way or the other.
I
Yeah.
like that. Oh, it's so great, man. It's so great. Do you see a lot of that? Do you doctor a lot? Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do it a whole lot, but the comedians like to have me because I'm a comic, and I only think about the comic.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a bad example is if Roseanne has a bad leg, they make the offices upstairs. That wouldn't have happened on my watch.
All right.
I would have said we need an office downstairs. But I micromanage everything, and I have a shorthand with her. I have a shorthand with Dice. Yeah. So somebody like Roseanne might say, "I want to be Tony Soprano." I mean, she wants to be a big fish in a little pond. where somebody else will go, she's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Same with Dice. I have a shorthand with them because I'm a comic, and I'm also smart enough to know they're playing themselves.
Yeah.
What am I going to tell them?
Yeah.
Roseanne wouldn't say that.
Right.
Dice
Exactly.
wouldn't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And showrunners, some of them are paid ridiculous amounts of money, and they personally feel they're the show.
Right.
And that's
Of
where
course.
the trouble starts.
Yeah.
No matter who you are. When you try to get a show up like Brad Garrett, even Roseanne, if you're trying to get a show up, they'll put you with the showrunner that'll completely change everything to where you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the network will go, isn't it great? No.
Now, you mentioned, I think it was before they were on the air, but a story about Margaret Cho, where that had happened.
Well, Margaret Cho, when she was discovered, had a sitcom I thought wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the network actually said, you got to lose weight, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I think I told you, it's like when you get married and the person tries to change you. Here they go, she's brilliantly funny, let's change her.
Right.
And I think that's so out of line, it's so disrespectful. But that's what, listen, I went out with Ralphie May in the beginning when he was hot to pitch a show. I forget what network, but the woman goes, can I talk to you in the hallway? I go, yeah. She goes, Allan, nobody wants to see fat people kissing. And I go, you are aware I'm Allan Stephan from Roseanne.
Right.
And I will also tell you my pitch didn't even come close to saying that. So is this something personal? Because I'm done talking to you. And we went in and I just said, let's leave.
Wow. That's
Listen, these people are so out of line. I had a deal
people
one
said
time.
the same shit with Mike and Molly
I had
when
a
Mike
deal
and
one
Molly
time
started.
with Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, can I ask you something? That's the opening question. I should travel with an attorney. I'd be a billionaire. He goes, what's she listen to you for? Could she sleep with her? No, that's so out of line on an interview. And I went, no, she's my friend. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And these guys don't expect any flack. And again, they don't know it. Listen, Eric Tannenbaum's a great guy, great producer. We were out, and we're waiting in the lobby of maybe ABC, and I can't remember his name, Van something, but he talks to the dead.
Like John Edwards or one of those?
Yeah,
Okay.
only he was the original guy, had a show. So he's getting his parking validated, and we make eye contact, and he goes, hey, say hello to my father for me. And he goes, will do. And he leaves, and he goes, you know him? I go, no, he talks to the dead. My father's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Eric's looking at me like, I hope this guy's all right.
Right. Yeah.
Because they don't
Yeah.
be funny in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
But they don't get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
This isn't you putting on an act to do this. This is
And
you.
some are crazy. I remember
Yeah.
I had a show with Judge Reinhold, and we're pitching at USA. And the guy literally gets up and starts pitching it to us. He's so excited. And when he's done, I stand up and I go, I'm in. I'm buying that.
Yeah.
And everybody starts laughing. He goes, me too. So I leave there thinking I have a show. He gets fired the next day.
Oh,
Obviously, he was a repeated
God.
idiot.
Yeah.
But,
great.
some of these guys are just afraid to make decisions.
Yeah.
And the worst is sometimes you get people that, from the network that give you notes.
Yeah.
And the notes are like, what's her background? So when I take over on Roseanne, the note lady said, I wanted to be a journalist. So I know she's not even a writer.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about this. But I ain't telling Roseanne they want changes. At HBO, I'd throw them in the trash can.
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't say anything, and I realized it's Monday. By Thursday, if she had 10 notes, 9 come out in the wash in the natural process.
Yeah.
So I call her up, and I go, Roseanne, and I want to thank you. What? I was told you people are nuts, and you don't like executives, and you're not cooperating. I go, well, that was from other people.
Yeah.
I said, I run a different show. I don't know what you're talking about. In fact, why didn't you come to one? Well, all execs are banned from that show for years. I go, I don't know where you heard that. And this is how good Roseanne is. The show's over. And I said, as we walk out, thank that lady. How did an exec get in here? Not even a breath.
Yeah.
So I told her the story afterwards. I go, they think I addressed the notes. Never addressed one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then one week she gets a little pushy and goes, well, I think. And I go, you know what? You've been winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called compromise.
Helps you get her on
Oh,
your back. Yeah.
genius. That's so
So
smart.
anybody that had a problem with us, I corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Because some showrunners made it them against her.
Yeah.
Do you ever
so
find that
unneeded.
do you ever find that in the creation of like shows and things of that nature that executives just don't know what they're talking about? They're people with business degrees, or have you ever met a good executive?
Yes, I believe Chris Albrecht was terrific at HBO.
Can we just applaud Robbie for a good question?
Yeah.
Good. You did it! You did it!
You did, Robbie.
Wow, man!
It wasn't a story about falling off a chair while jacking off and cum
You
getting in your
you
eye.
guys
my
tell me
God.
to tell these stories.
I really thought you
You
were going to
guys-
ask about, like punching Roseanne in the vagina or something. I really thought you were going to go for that.
Oh
but-
wow! Wow! Have you ever punched Roseanne in the
I
vagina?
will tell you a funny punching story, though.
Please do.
The Oyster House in Studio
Yep.
City. Have you ever been there?
Of course, yeah.
Roseanne and I go in there one night, and the old woman there has something with her throat, talks like this, puts down the menus, looks up at Roseanne and goes, "I'm not going to have a problem with you, am I?" And she walks away, and I go, "What's she talking about?" Roseanne goes, "I beat up George Clooney in here 15 years ago."
Oh, my God. Really?
15 years ago, and the woman goes, "I'm not going to have a problem with you, am I?"
Oh, my God.
Obviously,
That's
it's
amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
That is fucking
And
incredible.
Clooney sort of got his start on Roseanne. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something about Mr. George Clooney. He was the king of pilots. I mean, look at him. And when he was younger, it was a young cute. Now he's, to me, Cary Grant handsome.
Yes.
And a very intelligent man. I love what he's done with his career. And, yeah, he was on there, but mostly it was the hospital show.
Yeah,
ER.
ER.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, but I'm like, because I watch Roseanne. It's on one of the channels that I watch. in
TV
reruns.
Land, CMT, and Logo.
It's on, they call it Laugh 7-3. I don't know what the channel is, but it's on 7.3 digital. And I watch it on there all the time. But
Can you shed any light onto the decision on Roseanne for her to become a millionaire on the show, like to become a win the lottery?
Okay.
Can you shed any light on
Yeah.
on that choice?
Yeah. Somehow John Goodman in the last year made a deal to do 9 shows. The kids are in college.
yeah.
So for me to juggle a real ending, I would have to wonder where John is anyway,
Yeah.
where the kids are anyway. And the idea that last year, which they teach in some colleges now, the idea that last year is what happens when people get money that are poor. And some are broader than others, and some are right on the money. And they, believe me, they didn't want to do it. Tom Warner goes, "I think she should become a comedian. That's my idea." And I go, "Tom, I told you that 2 years ago." And he starts screaming, "I don't care whose idea it is. You make it happen." I go, "Oh, believe me, I'll tell her we talked." And she said, "I want to win the lottery." And I said, "Well, it's your show." And about second or third in, this is how brilliant she is. She goes, "Oh, if this is a dream, I'm dead." And she goes, "They built a writer's room for me in the second season, Alan. Find it and do something." And that's when it became a book.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And at the end, she comes up the stairs, and it's the same house, same everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
And I dare you to get through the end without crying.
Oh,
Yeah.
that last episode is.
And let me tell you about last
heartbreaking.
episodes, to put this to rest for all critics, especially those that do it professionally, which
Yeah.
I'm not understanding what that job is. They get paid to hate. But the idea is everybody has when you read a book and see a movie, you're disappointed. It's the same thing with endings. No matter how you end it, most of the people are going to hate it because
Right.
it's not the way they see it.
Mhm.
And there you go. But now it's hailed,
Yeah.
except by
Some critics.
and the
Yeah.
assholes that are probably doing it now.
Yeah. I remember one thing that was brilliant near the end, and I don't know if it was like one of the last episodes, but you did a bit with DJ where he was like, "I want my chance to win an Emmy," and he gives
We
like this
needed
long
a credit
speech.
tag. He came out as Moses with the Ten
Yeah, and it was-
Commandments.
That sticks with me as one of the funniest things I've seen, like
For
in my
your
entire life. Like I remember that. I was
Michael
like,
Fishman, and he
Yeah,
comes
it
out
was
as
brilliant.
Moses,
yeah,
and the hair is blowing, and he does his whole speech with the Ten
so
Commandments.
funny.
because like I haven't had my chance to win an Emmy, and it was
Well,
brilliant.
sometimes we
Yeah.
had fun. I remember one of them. The show wasn't that clear. It's a long story. But at the end, Roseanne's in her robe, and I had talked to a real audience member, and I put myself in the audience. And she takes questions. She goes, "Yes, sir." I go, "What was this show about?" And she explains it. She goes, "You look familiar." I go, I'm one of the writers. She goes, you're fired. And then a real audience member raises her hand and says, could you do your famous Tarzan call? And she does Tarzan, and that's the end of the show, like she was Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you get to have fun on it. I remember one time.
You guys did Gilligan's Island, too.
Well,
did she do like a Gilligan's Island episode? Yeah.
Before I married my wife, she went with the guy's son. And I happened, Sherwood Schwartz.
Yeah.
So I happened to be a fan, and he was actually there.
Lloyd Schwartz, who was a guest on our show last
Sherwood?
year. We had Lloyd.
We had Lloyd on the show.
He's his son, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, there was some feelings.
Yeah.
He had some feelings on the show.
They all do.
Yeah.
There's a couple more.
Yeah.
Sabrina went with one of them. Anyway, we did that. But there was one where we had a voiceover guy off stage. He's a truck driver. And she and Jackie are driving next to him. They get into words. She calls me over and she goes, I think this guy's afraid of me. I said, nobody wants to yell at you. Let me do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, let's just curse our ass off. And we got a great censor guy.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't tell him when we're doing shit.
Oh, wow.
So she starts in the front, fuck you. And we forgot to tell Laurie Metcalf, who just starts honking the horn and going, fuck. And he comes running, and the audience can't even sit down. What the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he comes out and he goes, you can't do that. And I go, fine, we do it again. But I use that one and just bleeped it.
Yeah.
But another time, DJ is taking trombone because he wants to sit next to the pretty girl.
Mm-hmm.
And he's holding the trombone. I went over and I go, clean the valve. It like this and let the air out of that valve. Normally it's like this, but what's he know? So we do the scene, and I see him coming down, and I say to Roseanne, here he comes. And he comes over and he goes, I know what you're doing. I go, what are we doing? He cannot do it. I go, you sick son of a bitch. He's cleaning the valve. How'd you get jerking off out of the... Are you out of your mind? So sometimes you just had to...
Just really have some fun.
Had it full of them.
Yeah.
I love
Now,
it.
you've also worked a lot with Robert Wool.
27 years.
And you did a special with him on HBO that was Assume the Position. Were you on that one with him? Or
I created that.
Now that
The
one,
first one, I walked after that.
Now, that was really unique as a comedy special in that it was him lecturing the students.
Well, what made it unique is we shot it with the Pennybackers, who were award-winning documentary bankers, because we were up for a Writers Guild Award in Best Documentary.
Really?
Unfortunately, we're against Gary Sinise and every Vietnam vet,
Oh.
and some Jews, in Germany.
Yeah.
So we were a shoo-in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I think they got rid of the category after us. But
So how did that come about? Like
I'm
to
gonna
make
tell
something in
you.
that?
Robert wanted
Yeah.
to do something at HBO, and you have to know how to work with Robert. Everything has to be his idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he did a history show 25 years ago that ABC didn't pick up. So somewhere along the line, I played dumb. Hey, maybe we should do history, And he comes in the next day and he says, yeah, I'm going to send that thing out. I said, from 25 years ago? You got to be new. Why would you show him that? I'm dancing around the fact that it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And then his manager tells him the same thing. He never listens to me. And then he goes on vacation. And I'm sitting home one night and I go, I know they lie in school. And it just comes to me, where'd the finger come from? And I start doing research. And there was two places I could have picked, ancient Greece or the one that made sense to me. And I sent him that. And then I sent him a few other bizarre facts. And then I said, this is the idea. And I didn't think it would work live. We started doing it in clubs. And then HBO said, well, we don't really get it. Go to Aspen. At Aspen, you couldn't get in. Norman Lear wanted to take it to Broadway. It just struck a chord with everybody. And, of course, it spawned Drunken History and 7 other shows, which we never get credit for.
Yeah.
And the first one was very, very good.
Wow.
Second one,
Not quite.
he made the mistake of insulting me, and he had to do it by himself. And that's why it's not a series.
Shit.
Yeah.
My God.
Stopped working with him after 27 years.
Wow.
I don't mind who you directed at, but don't direct it at the guy that got you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
See, Allan's a guy that you want on your team. You don't want Allan not on your team.
Yes, 100%. I agree.
I will tell you, I'm very loyal and very committed.
Yeah.
But then I have my, listen, It's not like he didn't piss me off before.
Yeah.
But
Well, let me ask
you have to separate the talent from the person.
Let me ask you this. Something, this is a more personal thing about our show, but we've been doing the show now, how many years?
This one or the late night?
We've been doing the I guess a combination of the two.
The live one is a little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years.
Wow,
right?
has it been 2 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we've played around a lot with trying to figure out what's the best possible move or where we should go. We had a meeting with a big YouTube company that has 380,000 subscribers to it.
That's a hit today.
That's a big deal. And there was some interest in us taking the show there and doing a 4-week test run there, but for little to no money, basically. And
would you own the show?
That we'd have to be able to do that, right?
And put a deadline on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, I hope they're not listening. Use them as your pilot.
Yeah.
To take elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that maybe we should talk about off the air.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah, let's negotiate this deal. Let's come up with our
Do you
negotiation
have
position.
sponsors?
We have people that we work with. And like, for example, like I'm we've talked to some throughout the show.
There's so many places today. I can't see this not working.
Well,
because I was just telling them that show you did last week or the week before. It's a killer lineup.
Yeah.
Who else is on besides the girl I like?
Well, on the 26th,
on the
August 26th, we have Fortune Feimster, who's amazing.
Maybe this is the one I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
what we're talking about.
We have Tiffany Haddish.
I know Tiffany since she's a kid.
Yeah, her movie just made $80 million, which is outrageous, right? We have Andrew Santino, who's the star of I'm Dying Up Here. We have Ron Funches, who was on Undateable, and then Powerless on NBC.
We have Mike O'Connell.
Mike O'Connell,
who's worked with Dr. Ken for years and years, and he's a very funny guy.
Very funny. He's closing,
Brilliant.
and then we have Ian Abramson, who's like
I thought it was a good line.
alternative comic,
and it was a fun show to do.
Yeah,
and
you were
me,
so great.
I don't know how you're looking to do it, but I would keep the essence of what you have.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking to do. I think we're just trying to figure out what the best possible move is, or what a move is, because I think we all want to keep doing the show. And
well, who's handling you these days?
I'm at Generate.
Do they know about this?
Yeah.
Well,
And
tell them to
they're
figure
fans.
it out.
Yeah, they are.
Earn your money.
They're trying to figure out too. Yeah, I'm sure they're great. They've been very.
You still with David Pierce?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's terrific too. But Allan, we got to wrap things up. But getting a chance to every time we get a chance to sit down and chat, and we're lucky enough that we know you, we actually get to hang out.
Well, I enjoy
see
you because in the early days you were very sweet with your questions. And then you introduced me to your sister when she was out here. And I could see you were trying to absorb. And that's the way you move.
That's the only way to do it.
Otherwise,
Yeah, we were lucky enough to be doing comedy at a bowling alley where Allan would show up every once in a while.
Oh, my God.
And
seriously.
We got to meet a lot of great people there. But, I mean, Allan is sort of...
I
you
do
would
that
never-
at a place called the Springbok now.
Yeah.
I just find these little holes, and sometimes... I think the last time I went on, I just railed the guy who... I said, stop calling
Just
me
Billy,
in the morning
yeah.
because I say yes.
Yeah.
And that was the whole set.
Yeah. But it's... I remember, you
Robbie
would
did the
almost,
Springbok recently.
Yeah, you would almost never perform. You would just sit there, and we were always told, Allan's great. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. He seems like he's been very gracious to us. He's told us lots of cool stories. But I was like, when am I going to finally get to see this guy do a set? And when you finally did, I was like, that's the funniest set I've ever seen in my entire life. I was blown away.
That's not what I do.
Yeah, and it was just you just talking.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But when
you
you see it in an hour presentation,
Yeah.
it's a whole different, the energy's different. I don't sit
Yeah.
on a stool, and I can remember everybody I talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And what I do now is I try to come off, and the first thing I say is I did 2 jokes.
Yeah.
An hour and 10 minutes, I did 2 jokes.
I remember
Yeah.
you told a great story about following Charles Fleischer at the store one night, and he's doing his Charles Fleischer thing where he's bouncing around and he's like the most energetic human being ever. And then he sings a song about everybody he talked to during the whole show and all that kind of stuff. And then I think the story you told was you walked out, sit down on the stool, pulled out a cigarette, and you asked somebody in the audience, like, hey, how much money did you pay to get in here tonight? They're like $15.
It wasn't him. It was Stephen. He has 3 names.
Okay.
Stephen something, a black guy.
Okay.
And this guy thinks he's at Carnegie Hall.
Right.
You know, he's going to give you the full 45 no matter what that 6 minutes says.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm backstage one night, and I go, is he dancing? What the hell? And he's sweating, and they're loving him, and I dragged the stool out with no energy whatsoever. Yeah. And I sit down, and I go, my God, how about another round of applause? This man left out nothing. Yeah. Let me show you what $50 looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, hysterical. Oh, that's the best. That's the best.
I don't know what the hell he was doing. Yeah, but it's $50.
I just love that.
Yeah, that's so what that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting tonight. I always liked at the Friars Club in Beverly Hills. The one time Jim Norton performed, he had to follow Rocky.
O'Toole?
Laporte,
Rocky.
No. Who was the Rusty Dooley?
Oh, Rusty Dooley,
the prop comic. Yeah. And so he goes. What are you doing? Fucking prop comedy? I have to follow this? And he goes, yeah, I mean, but I do like a movie themed like props and stuff. And he goes, oh, you're gonna ruin the fucking show. This is the worst. First time I get to perform at this club and it's ruined by a fucking prop comic. And he's saying it to the guy.
Yeah.
And Rusty's just like the nicest guy. And he's like, well, like I'm gonna try I'm just gonna do this one bit and it's gonna be. And he was like, motherfucker, this fucking show's already ruined. Great. Yeah.
Well, the real stand-ups can't handle it.
Right. Yeah. No way.
He's famous now. I want to say Odenkirk.
Bob
Odenkirk. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Works with me. I'll tell you the year it was because Ghostbusters came out. I remember picking up the girl to take her there. And we're staying in a condo in San Jose. And, just do your job. It's not a competition.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm in the jacuzzi with the girl, and he comes over. He goes, you had trouble following me tonight, huh? And I'm in my head, I'm going, this guy seemed like a nice guy. What the? Yeah. Well, the next day I go there, and I have a cocktail. And I say to the bartender, you don't see me, do you? He goes, no, if you say so. And I go up. And he's very spontaneous, but he knows where everything is and makes it look spontaneous.
Okay.
I move everything around.
Right.
Then he closes with fake arms and he pulls strings and they dance. I tied the strings together.
Oh, shit.
Now he comes home and it seems like he had a little problem tonight with his spontaneity. All I need is a mic. Don't tell me how great you are.
Yeah.
But another time, I was in Arizona, and the guy says, "Want to go to lunch?" I just gotten into the condo, and I see he's got a guitar. That's like props to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting having lunch. He goes, I bury my headliners. I go, I'm sure you do. And then he says it again. I go, is there something you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
I go, here's the deal. If I can't follow you, you can have my check. If not, I get yours. Well, how long can I do? I go, do a day and a half. I don't care what you do. So at that point, I had been sitting down for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And the guy who books it knows me, and he comes in. He goes, you out of your mind? This guy's great. I go, maybe I'll have to stand up. He gets applause, does 50 minutes, I think. He comes in with a big smile on his face. And I look at Paul Hopp it was, and Paul Hopp looks at me and goes, you're in trouble. And I took that stool and I moved it away. 50 minutes later, I get a standing ovation. And I come in and I go, checks, Paul. And I put it in my pocket. And now I got Mr. Depressed all week.
Yeah.
So Saturday night, like they all do, I love when they all fold. You really are a funny guy. I go, here's your check. Just worry about being funny.
Yeah.
Not beating down the next guy.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
Well, to me, it's you're a gunfighter. Mm-hmm. Sooner or later, you ever see the movie Gunfighter, Gregory Peck?
Sure.
Sooner or later, somebody's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
But right now, I happen to be the fastest guns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Mm-hmm. That's all. And I learned that, I looked up to Jay Leno. I remember his first special. And this is weird. Sometimes you create jokes that go out of your universe.
Sure.
And years ago, Mr. T was in the audience, and I wore a lot of jewelry. And blah, blah, blah. I went back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I said, I got a Mr. T starter kit. Well, it became a mainstay in my act. Went around the country. Time magazine printed it under somebody else's. I couldn't even do it. People go, it's not your joke. So Leno's first special, and he's not an audience guy, steps off the stage. A guy has a chain you can barely see. He goes, Mr. T starter kit. And I'm sitting with two comics. They go, you going to say something to Jay? I go, no. I said, I think differently than you people. I just realized I'm a faster gun.
Yeah.
So
That's all.
I look at it like a gunslinger. Sooner or all. And I don't know when that'll be, because we just did a show, like Carl LeBeau and I, with the Outlaws, and it's on a whole different plateau because we force each other to go places.
Yeah.
And then we come out and do 25 minutes together off the top of our heads. And it's so damn powerful. And all of a sudden, I got a call over the weekend from my agent. Somebody wants to manage us. Somebody wants to do it as a special. So I'm not sure what I'm doing these days. I might just ride comedy stand-up for a little while where I can control my own destiny and don't have to yell at people.
And now you are still around a lot in the LA comedy scene. You show up from time to time in places like you're still around. Who do you see out there now that, because you've seen everyone, who do you see out there now that you're watching and you're like, that's going to be somebody we should watch?
There's this kid I haven't seen in a while out of Arizona named Tristan. Let's see where he goes. But the people that make me laugh are Adam Richman. His material comes from a different slant. Mike Moratori, I love because he's dangerous. And you never know what's going to come in out of his mouth. But
true.
as far as new ones, I've been terribly disappointed. I actually saw a girl a few months ago that was very good. This is actually a year ago, and I said, I'd like to do a sitcom with you. And she made every excuse. She's her own worst enemy, and I lost interest. But there was a girl on a few months ago, 7 minutes, not a laugh. And she says, well, I'm filming my special this weekend in Venice. It's delusional today. The specials mean nothing. Anybody, you got a camera, you can shoot it. You got a phone, you got a special. Even the meaning of what they wear is gone, even when the good guys do it. And, so to me, it's the usual suspects that are doing well. The Chappelle makes me laugh. I think Bill Burr. And as far as the young ones, I'm just so disappointed. Some of them will talk for 20 minutes and
No
not wonder
punchlines.
why you're not hanging on every boring word.
Yeah.
Like going to lunch and getting Starbucks was supposed to be funny in some way.
Yeah, and these days everybody wants an easy.
Nobody
way
wants
to the top.
Nobody
No
wants
one
to
wants to
learn their
work for it.
craft at
Yeah,
all.
No. I've had
At
so many comics that I've run into that are like, well, how do you get to perform at the Improv, or how do you get to perform at the Comedy Store? And you're like, well, you got to perform at the shitholes. Like, you got to do stand-up
Have you found this?
at a 7-Eleven.
I'm a headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At little bars across the country. That doesn't count. Or, I play the Comedy Store. No, you don't. Somebody booked the room. You bought 5 people, and they let you on.
We did a bringer room at the belly.
I'll tell you what's funny about the Comedy Store. I was there with Dice a couple months ago, and out back, it's a smoking lounge now.
Yeah.
That used to be where I hid.
Right.
I remember when they did a big party for Pryor in the main room, and I can't do impressions, but the guy next to me says, you Allan? I go, yeah. He goes, they told me you know where I can go to smoke weed. I go, right this way, Mr. Nicholson.
Shit.
So I know all the hiding places.
Yeah.
Now they're a lounge.
Yeah.
They're
It's
well
this.
lit.
It's hysterical, but you got to go back there with every moron that thinks they're in show business.
Oh, God.
Takes your high away.
That's the worst. You know what you know who said I know we got to wrap up. You know who
Either
said
that or somebody's going in from the sidelines. What the hell?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Give them hand
It's a lot of signals for a podcast.
We heard I heard this a couple months ago, and I find someone finally said it to me. Ed Begley Jr. You know Ed Begley Jr.
I think he's a nice man.
Such a sweet guy. He, I had always heard people like actors or people go, "Oh no, I'm offer only. I'm offer only now. Like they don't audition anymore. It's offer only." And then I mentioned to him something about that, and he was like, "You're only offer only if they offer it to you. You don't get to make that choice. Like that's not a thing." And I was like, which sounds so obvious, but as an actor who's been around, I hear people say that very often, and that's something that people really have to...
Well, also, some people are mismanaged. I know a comic, and one night I said to him, who's managing you? Because he was on a TV show, funny guy. And he tells me, and I call the guy up, and I go, why isn't he out more? Well, it's offer only. I go, yeah, when he was on TV. That's 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
Somebody got to look him in the face and say, duh, no.
Yeah.
And I finally went to him, and I go, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
You weren't the star of a show. You were on a show.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's offer only. And here's what happens in show business. You could be the most famous person in the world, and at some point they'll go, she's casting.
Yeah.
Like Carol Burnett, she's casting.
Yeah.
And you go, what?
Still, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just amazing how they look at things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you go from working actors, get her, and then it's like the old joke: get the one that looks like her, get somebody that sounds like her, and then before you know it, the her. But a lot of times, I find agents and managers aren't up front.
Yeah,
and I have a problem with
what?
that. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's
what do you mean I turned it down? I never even got a call.
Yeah, exactly.
So, offer only seems to be, Tom Cruise.
Right.
I get it.
Sure.
I get it. He's not coming in to audition. I get it.
For stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
But, if you're a guy that, it should say, please call 24 hours available.
Yeah, exactly. I'm available always.
Put your number in a bathroom stall.
Acting or stand-up, you're a journeyman. You just work. I don't care what the gig is.
Of course. Where can people on the internet find you if they want to find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook sometimes, but I don't do any of that stuff. However, I will be in Atlantic City with the Outlaws of Comedy, I think in April at the Borgata. And
Great.
Then we have a lot of dates coming up, but I just don't know what they are.
Is there somewhere they can go to find out more info about the Outlaws, like when they'll be coming to town? Or
Well, I post it as it happens.
All right. Well, if you can, go on Facebook and look up Allan Stephan, and you'll send him friend requests or just follow him on there. I think you can just follow people now. So
that's the best way, because
that's the best.
Sometimes I friend people, and all of a sudden they go, how'd the whore get on here?
Yeah, exactly.
Allan, give me a call.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then the name is, makes no sense. Give me a call. It's Lemon. Yeah, what?
What? I don't want to talk to you. And Robbie, what about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me at Robbie Carlisle on Twitter or on Facebook or doing crazy shit on the Nighttime Show.
Wait a minute. I may be on that Twitter thing.
Oh, yeah. Are you on that?
Yeah.
What's your, do you know what your
it's
name is?
Either the real Allan Stephan or Preston Sturgis.
I like that.
Or no, Sturgis Trumbo. That's
Sturgis Trumbo?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll
Two brilliant people, if you know who they were.
Yeah. When we tweet this, we'll tag you.
We'll look it up.
And stuff like that.
That sounds like a Grindr screen name.
Actually, Trumbo. Of course, there was a movie about him a few years ago by
Bryan Cranston.
Brilliant job. He was blacklisted, a blacklisted writer who won Oscars blacklisted. Who I believe Kirk Douglas finally got his name back up on the screen when he did Spartacus. And then the other one was just a great comedy writer-director, Preston Sturgis. Did a lot of comedies in the 30s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But this is where things originated, if you know the history.
Yeah.
I like to go to the originators.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you learn.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a guy I would sleep with. Sturgis Trumbo.
Oh, I forgot about you.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine every guy sounds like a guy.
Listen, I can't be picky.
No offense, I know you lost 40 pounds. I have a feeling come the end of the night when the lights go on, it's still you.
Oh, my God. Oh, fucking A, Allan. That's so good.
It's so funny.
Oh, Christ.
Sounds like a guy I sleep with. Mr. Picky.
Yeah, he's very picky.
I have a funny feeling if you go in a men's
An
room.
Uber driver or a Lyft driver?
Yeah.
Which one is it going to be?
Actually,
Hey, did that guy just go into the men's room? I'll be right back.
I'm not sleeping with Uber drivers because they ask you to tip afterwards now.
Oh! Keep working on it. I love you. Just kidding. Matt, where can people find you?
Hey,
You can,
good luck on all your movie stuff, by the way.
We'll
That
see.
stork thing's cool.
It was something. It was a whole situation.
And it's a different following, when you hit that.
Did you hear about what I did with Robbie at San Diego Comic-Con? Did you hear that story? So they asked me to do press at Comic-Con, but I called Warner Brothers. I go, you want me to do press for Storks? And they go, no. Movie came out in September of last year. It's been on DVD since December. Like, it's on HBO, but you don't need to promote that. Like, it's fine. Just promote whatever you want to promote. So I called back both studios because KUSI in San Diego and Fox Morning News booked me, but without having anything for me to do. So I go, look, I'll come on and I'll talk about Comic-Con, okay? But then during the conversation of me talking about Comic-Con and our podcast and stuff, while we're talking about it, I'm going to say I just started a line of costumes for plus-size men. And here to demonstrate is one of our models, and then Robbie will come out as Spider-Man, and we'll make him do like some flips and stuff, and it'll be very funny. And both networks were like, fuck yeah, we're in, right? So for Fox Morning News, we were out by a pool, and Robbie decided to show off his moves and leaped into the pool on the morning show. And then they kept making him fall back in the pool, and it was very uncomfortable and funny. And I kept advertising how much these are $89.95 only at fatguy.cosplay.com. Right, just like trying to push it. And then we go into the studio to an actual like TV studio. And we asked, I did the same introduction. Robbie comes out, stands awkwardly behind me for a while, so he's mostly out of frame, in the interview like shot. And then I go, show them what you can do, Robbie. And he got up onto the couch and then fell onto the news cameraman, like the news guy that was hosting, and it was fucking hysterical. And he was like trying to do like leaps and shit, almost broke a table.
Here's what you have in him. As in real life, he never says no.
Right.
Yes.
And God bless him for that, because without that, you don't have, when you're doing a comedy show, you need a fall guy, and you need a guy that can do funny pratfalls and funny crazy shit. And
he's the fall down the stairs guy.
He's our guy. He's our guy, you know. And we've been with him. This is over 2 years we've been doing this stuff with him, and it's like, I owe him huge.
Well, soon he'll be so thin it won't be funny.
Right, exactly.
Got to start eating again.
I don't know how soon you might think that is, Alan. It's going to be quite a while. We got a ways to go.
Matt, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at funnymatt.com, or if you're a fat person who's offended by what I just said, let me know at mattwalkersucks.com.
Yes, which is
or
a real
on Facebook, where you cook all the time.
Yes, you can see things I cook on my Facebook and Instagram profile.
Chef Matt.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN Glickman, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast and leave your comments and messages and share with your friends. Thank you so much, Alan. You're the fucking coolest for coming on. And hopefully we'll get you, if you're down for it, we'll get you on the live show again soon.
Always down for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. See you later, bitches.